Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Melissa's Cricket Creation. If you see the thumbnail and you read the title, today we're going to be talking about the twins, Tasmia and Jasmia. I think I'm saying that right. We're going to call them Taz and Jazz, who both, unfortunately, brutally, M-word, because, YouTube is kind of crazy. Their mother, and, this is a sad story because we all, well, at least, I do. Most people I know love their mom, even if they only get away with them. Like, you only get one mom. And to think that somebody could ever.
Canva is just so easy to use. People always tell us that our designs are really thought out. We take the compliment, but honestly, I owe it to Canva.
Start designing for free at canva.com.
Just being out loud when I'm trying to talk. There we go. But yeah, so to think that someone would, brutally attack their own mom is just like, it's unheard of. But before we get started, if you could go ahead and like this video, go ahead and let me know if you are crafting tonight. What are you working on? What order are you working on? I'm going to be putting together kitty safety keychains because I have an order that needs to go out tomorrow morning. And let me know in the comments what you're working on, okay? So we're going to start off. I'm going to show you what the twins look like. All right, so Taz and Jazz, they were born to Nikki Whitehead, all right? So Nikki was born in a prison because her mom was arrested. So once she was born, she had to go live with her grandma, which were the twins, great-grandmother. And when... because her grandma wasn't strict, she didn't have a lot of rules for them. Nikki stayed out all time of the night, according to what they said. So she ended up getting pregnant when she was 17 years old. And when she got pregnant, she was pregnant with the twins. It doesn't really say, but I'm going to assume that the reason why her grandma had custody of her kids is because she was 17 when she had them. So her grandma initially took custody of the kids, and they stayed with the grandma for about 12 years. Well, when the girls turned 13, her mom decided she wanted custody back, and she went to court and she got the girls. Well, because she had rules in her house, unlike her grandma, because her grandma was more lax, her and the girls just butted heads. And so, the girls, she found out they were sneaking out at night. She called the police. It was like she was only 13 and she was sneaking out to see her boyfriend. They were going, they were having their own, she had to call the police again. And the police came out. They said they stayed around because they just felt like something wasn't right. She said, after she called the police stayed outside for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then she heard screams. So she goes back in. And the mom is running with the cordless phone, because, this is back in the 90s. She's running with the cordless phone, and she's like, what's going on? What happened? And she explains to her that, the girls had tried to jump her. Not tried, they did. They jumped her. And so when she went back in, the twins tried to say, well, no, my mom was trying to beat on us, and, we were just protecting ourselves. But the only person that had marks on them was Nikki, the mom. She was the only person that had marks on her. So, the police officer speaks, and she talks about how she just felt uneasy, and felt like something bad was going to happen. Well, because, they kept going back and forth, the grandma, whose name is Della, ended up getting custody of them again, okay? So the grandma ends up getting custody again, and the girls end up going back with them. Well, in 2010, the mother goes back to court, and she gets custody of the girls again. The girls did not want to go back to the mom because they felt like she was hypocritical. She was living with her boyfriend at the time, and they didn't want to live with her. So the judge said, well, look, you stay with her for 2 weeks. If it doesn't work out, you can go back to your grandma. Unfortunately, she never makes it to the 2 weeks. Like, it's so gruesome how they did her. So according to the twins, which we'll play their testimony in a second here, according to the twins, that day that they killed her, they had stayed up to 2:00 in the morning. So the next morning, they said their mom woke them up. She had a pan that she was beating on the pan or whatever, and that she told them they had to get up and go to school. I guess when they got up, it started an argument, and they just killed her. They stabbed her, and then they drug her in a bathtub. Now, the sad part is she actually got away. The mom got away some type of way, and she ran to the neighbor's house. But the neighbor said he heard somebody at his door, but he said it was just, it was too late. He didn't get up. He did, he never got up to check. So they dragged her from the neighbor's house, brought her back in, continued to do whatever they was doing to her, and put her in the bathtub. And she ended up dying. And they saw footprints. I'm gonna show you, their account of things, because they end up going to jail. Well, right after that, they end up going back to school or whatever, and they tried to play it off. And, the police came by or whatever, asked what happened. And, they were like, oh, I'm missing my mom. I need my mom and my grandma. And they were just crying. And the detective said he noticed that one of the twins just started biting on her arm. He was like, what's wrong? Why are you doing that? She's like, oh, this is just something I do when I get nervous. I bite on my arm. And he thought that was weird. Well, what she was really trying to do is she was trying to cover up the bite marks, because her mom did not go down without a fight. She scratched him, she bit him, she fought for her life. And, they were trying to cover up the tracks. So they told the police, basically the police was like, well, because at first they were like, they thought that they were innocent. So it's like, well, how can I help you? How can I make you feel better? They was like, yeah, can you turn on an episode of CSI? And it was like, that was just weird to them. They're like, how some things just don't sit right with you when you hear it. The police officer was like, it just didn't sit right with me. I just thought that was weird. Your mom just passed away and you want to see an episode of CSI? That's weird. And so, then they started to investigate it, but they didn't have enough evidence. And so Nikki, like I said, Nikki's the mom. She went down fighting. So there was hair in her teeth where she had bit the twins or whatever. And they tested the hair and it came back to be one of the twins. The bite mark on her arm came back with her mom's DNA on it. So, the girls had went back to school, went to prom, honestly thought they were just about to get away with this. And the last day of school, they arrested them both and took them in. And they decided not to go to trial. Instead, they just pled guilty to manslaughter, and they got 30 years in prison. And so once they got their 30 years in prison, they like, okay, that's a long, I guess it started to click. Like, it's a long time. And so they decided to speak and tell exactly what happened. That's what we're about to watch now. And tell what happened, according to them, what happened. But let's take note that they're saying this in a way that they're trying to get sympathy. But I'll let you be the judge.
She went under a couple.
No, start it over.
Seen them lie while under interrogation and even mock officers after their arrest. Tonight, you'll see those same twin sisters admit to brutally killing their mother. This week, 11 Alive cracked open the case file of Jasmia and Tasmia Whitehead. And tonight, the most chilling...
She started off wrong with the names, okay?
Details yet. Katie Beck is here with the twins' confession.
Well, Brenda, we pick up almost exactly 4 years after the crime, the twins about to go to trial. Instead, they accept a 30-year sentence and start talking about what actually happened the morning of the murder.
It wasn't like it was a fight on the street. It was more of a fight till somebody died.
A fight with their mother after waking up late for school.
She just started waving the pot around and things like that or whatever. And so I guess she trying to hit us with the pot. She just threatening us and everything.
The girls say they got the pot away from her, but it was the start of an all-out brawl.
Your mom's yelling?
We all yelled.
Everybody's yelling.
We all is mad. I had took the pot from her. This one she had grabbed, like kind of turned, like you said, get back. But she didn't keep the knife in her hand. My mom just winning that battle with the knife or whatever. So I picked up the pot and I hit her with the pot.
Jas breaks this red vase over her mother's head. It was the first sign of blood, and her mother fought back.
She beat me in the chest. Like I said, I'm not that big, so when she beat me, she latched on to me, and I'm trying to get her off of me because it hurts. I'm trying to punch her, I guess. And I think Dad stayed up there. He stayed up there.
After more fighting, Jas says at some point she begins to choke her mother with this ribboned medallion she won as a child. Her mother delivers a swift backhand blow, catching her by surprise.
So I was stunned. I think I picked up a knife and I stabbed her. They wasn't cuts like they were deep. I couldn't bring myself to do that.
After all the biting, punching, screaming, and stabbing, the twins drag their mother into the bathtub. Neither really explain why.
You had about hands,
Yeah, I think I was at the top.
and Jas had her feet.
Yeah, she was heavy.
What did y'all do?
They put her in the tub.
But Nikki Whitehead was still alive. In fact, she was talking to the twins.
What'd she say?
She paid us. She paid us. And well, it's the same thing. We're going to jail.
But what are you saying to her?
I'm sorry. I told her I was sorry.
Minutes later, they would watch their mother die.
She went under a couple times and that was it.
When that was it, use your words, when that was it, what'd you and your sister do?
I guess we was shocked. I mean, we didn't really believe. I guess what we did. We cried. I cried for a long time.
Then they would attempt to clean up, go to school, and begin their lies to police.
We just started and I was going to cover it up, I guess.
The girls admit that when they returned, they expected the police would be there, and their mother would not. The sight of what they had done was overwhelming.
I really wished it didn't happen like that. I wish I could have saw something else to do. I wish I did. Sorry. It was just confusion. It's like turmoil. It's just really getting nervous.
The girls wish they'd called police during the fight rather than hours after the murder, been truthful, and wish they still had a mother.
I'm sorry, I miss her. But it was mine. But Linda and I was gonna try to make it seem I didn't hate her. I didn't hate her. It just was.
It's horrible. So what happened? So what they didn't say in this is, like I said, number one, the mom got away. So like really, if they weren't trying to kill their mom, if they didn't have this intent to kill their mom, I guess I shouldn't say that because YouTube, they'll strike it. Why did they drag her back in the house? At this point, they're just trying to get off. And it just hurts because it's like, what would drive children to turn against their parents? And, I have to bring it up. Where was the dad? They said the dad was living way in Canada. Like if the dad had been more involved, do we think something different could have come of this? Maybe if they were working together, because, she came from, it sounds like to me what happened is she had her young, the grandma raised her. Grandma's probably older, right? And she probably couldn't really do everything she needed. When parents are older, they tell you yet, like they say about the youngest kid gets to do everything. It's because you're getting older and you don't feel like fussing and fighting anymore. So she probably didn't have too many rules for them. And then the mom comes back, tries to set rules for her, right? Try to set boundaries, but she's probably still living her life because she's grown. And she's telling the girls what they can't do, but they've been living with their grandma all this time, allowing them to do what they want to do. And they don't like being told no. And so they had a diary that the police found where in the diary, they were saying, we're going to have to get rid of her pretty soon, or it's going to be too late if we let this go on too long. So I think they very much so planned this. And I think that they didn't expect her to fight back. And, they lied to the police. That's how they got caught, because they lied about what time they got to school. They lied about what time they left. They were acting weird and they were acting for the cameras, as the police noted in the interviews. And even here, I feel like they're not giving a true account. I feel like they're giving a story that they came up with their lawyers to make it, to plead to be let out, because they still have a chance to be paroled before their whole 30-year sentence is up. And they came up for parole in 2018, but they were denied because, again, I feel like if you're, and so when I saw this case, it made me think like, how often does this happen? Like, are there other cases out there, which I assume there were, are there other cases out there where people, killed. I forgot you're not supposed to say that word, but I said it now. K'd their moms or whatever. And I have a classmate that he K'd his mom, and once he graduated from college. So his name was Dion, but he had a mental illness. He was bipolar, and he was off of his meds. And when I went back, and I looked at his Facebook page, and it was like a cry for help, that no one saw. Like, he was all over the place. He was making up situations. You could tell he wasn't in his right mind. And then, he went to church with his mom, and he said, I just need to get my stuff out the house. And she told her friend, if you don't hear from me in an hour, come looking for me. And I just feel like if you got to say that, you already know it's not safe enough. Like, don't even take the chance. But she allowed him to come home and get his stuff, and he strangled her to death. And, and you think like people, and they're so soft-spoken and so sweet. And that's the only way I can explain this is, mental illness. That if you're in a place where you would take the life of someone who brought you into life, there has to be a mental illness. And again, the father wasn't involved. And, you just have to ask yourself, what role, should these men play, in their kids? We know what role they should play. They should play father. Another person, I had to show her, and she was like a TikTok sensation. Her name was Isabella Guzman or whatever. And she stabbed her mom. This says 79 times, but when I researched it, it said 151 times. And it said she stabbed her mom 31 times in the face and 48 times in the neck. And so what happened with her, again, mental illness, her mom and dad were together most of her life. And then her mom and dad ended up divorcing because allegedly she was cheating with the man she ended up divorcing with or whatever. And so she got upset, and so she started to rebel against them. And once she started to rebel, she tried to run her mom over with a car. She sent her to go live with her dad. For some odd reason, her dad sent her back. She called the police on her a couple of times. And the day before her death, when she called the police, she sent her email, because it's back, it was back when I guess she couldn't text. So she sent an email saying, you'll pay for calling the police on me. And she was serious about it. And so she called the police again. The police came to talk to her, and they told her that if she didn't act right, she didn't get her stuff together, she was going to be out of her mom's house, and they would remove her. And, basically they told the mom, everything should be fine. If something happens again, give us a call. But we talked to her, and then she called the dad over. The dad came to talk to her. Instead of removing her out of the situation, he thought it was okay just to talk to her and leave her there. And the next day she woke up, I guess her mom was taking a bath. She went in the bathtub, and like I said, she stabbed her 151 times in the face and in the neck. And like, to stab somebody in the face, I don't know even how you can, because it seemed like, I don't know that you can stab. I guess you can stab through somebody's head. But yeah, she stabbed her 151 times. And she didn't even get found guilty because they said she was insane at the time. So she's in a mental institution. And here's the let me bring this back on here to show you. Here's the picture of her now trying to get out, because they said whenever she's rehabilitated that she's able to get out. So here she is now, and she said she spent the last 7 years at a state hospital. 7 years is nothing. Last November, she told CBS 4 in a viral interview that she's on medication and that her sanity has been restored. She said, I was not myself when I did that, and I have since been restored to full health. No, ma'am. So, she needs to definitely stay in jail. And I don't think she ever needs to see the day of light again, because at the end of the day, if you can harm the person that gave you life, there's no telling what you can do to other people. And, after looking at these cases, and I saw another case where a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, I'm telling you, you should go Google it. It's just so sad that all these cases start to pop up of people who turned against their parents. And I don't condone it at all, but it's one thing when it's an abusive parent and the kids turn against them. But even in the 14 to 13-year-old in Mississippi, they were just mad at their mom because their mom took their cell phone. Because the kids had tried to run her over or whatever. So she took their cell phone so the next day they went and got her gun and shot her with her own gun and then stabbed her and then went down the road and told them that somebody else had came and did it. So it's just like, boundaries, setting boundaries, and not only setting boundaries, and I'm not saying that they didn't do this, they didn't let their kids know they love them, but having boundaries and making sure these people understand, your kids understand that, you care for them, you love them, their extension, I don't know. I really don't know to the answer to this. I don't know, because I could never imagine, but I do have a great relationship with my mom. But I just can't imagine, harming my mom. Like, that's the last person I could ever think of. Like, but I just think it has to do with discipline. I think not necessarily discipline, like, oh, they didn't get enough whoopings, but just setting boundaries for these kids. Because over and over again, it just seems like they've been told yes a lot. And once they get told no, they react. And when they react dangerously. So, to the twins, they seem remorseful and sad, but I really don't think they are. I think they're just sad they got caught. And they're going to be out when they get in their 40s, because if they were sentenced to in 2014, they were sentenced to 30 years. So what is that? 2044, they'll be eligible for parole. Well, they're eligible for parole right now, but they would definitely get out in 2044. And it's like they were 16 when they went in, so they're going to be 46. And we all know jail does not rehabilitate you, right? They say people fight for their life in jail, so they're probably going to come out harder than they went in. And like, they're just going to be on the streets. They're going to be amongst us, and we don't know if they're really ever even remorseful for what they did, because how do you bring yourself to do something like that? I don't know. It was just something to think about, the twins actually doing that to their mom. I want to know what you think. What do you think about it? I mean, I guess it's nothing to think about, but it's just horrible. And another thing I thought of too, but I might be reaching it. I wonder if these people are on some type of substances while they're pregnant, and these are the effects. These are the long-term effects. Maybe they're not all there up there. I just have to wonder that too, because I can't imagine harming my mom. So yeah. Well, that's all I came on live today. I guess I didn't really get to put together any of these keychains, but let me know what you're working on, what crafts you're working on. We did do a new craft earlier today, so if you want to know how to make these toppers, the video was posted earlier today on my channel. It's DIY goodie bag toppers, okay? So you can watch that to learn how to make those. And, I'm going to definitely keep uploading these things. But I really want to know what you think. And how do you feel about it? Do you think that the mom was abusive to them and that's why they snapped? Or do you think they were just some ungrateful kids that turned on their mom? Because no one is reporting that there was any type of abuse. And the girls are not even really saying that. They said she was waving the pot around, but they didn't say she hit them with the pot, So let me know what you think. Do you think they were just, do you think they were just some ungrateful kids that snapped on their mom? Or do you think that they were, they were being abused and that's why they did it? I don't know, but it's sad, guys. It's sad. Until next time, guys, y'all stay crafting. Let me know what you're working on in the comments.